Have you ever met someone who can walk into a room and instantly know something is off? No one's arguing. Nobody says a word. But they can feel it. They notice a tiny shift in posture. A smile that arrives half a beat too late. A voice that says I'm fine, but carries tension underneath. From the outside, it looks like emotional intelligence. People call it. You're so intuitive. You have a high EQ. You're incredibly perceptive. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people won't say out loud. A lot of the most perceptive people didn't become that way through books, therapy, or meditation. They became that way because, at some point in life, they had to. Their nervous system didn't learn safety by choice. It learned safety by necessity. Psychologists have started calling this traumatic intelligence a form of sharp, almost invisible intelligence that can develop when you grow up in unpredictable, emotionally complex environments. Trauma doesn't only wound people. In many cases, it also sharpens them. And if you recognize yourself in what I'm about to describe, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not too sensitive. You're not weird. You're not broken. You may simply be trained. Before we go further, be honest. If you've ever read the room before anyone spoke, type 1 in the comments. If you think this isn't you, type 0. And stay with me, because you might be surprised which signs you actually match. You can read a room before anyone says a word. You walk into a space and your body goes alert. Not panic. Not paranoia. More like scanning. You pick up tension in someone's shoulders. A micro-expression that flickers for less than a second. The distance between two people standing a little too far apart. This isn't mystical intuition. It's pattern recognition. Your brain learned early to collect emotional data because, at some point, that data kept you safe. Most people enter a room to socialize. You enter a room to assess the emotional weather. You're deeply attuned to other people's needs, sometimes too much. Someone says, "I'm okay," and you know they're not. Someone laughs, but you hear the strain. Someone insists, "It's nothing," and you feel the weight behind the words. You often sense what people need before they can even name it themselves. Psychologists sometimes describe this as hyperempathy and intensified sensitivity to emotional states that often develops in people who had to track caregivers' moods closely. You learn to feel others because your environment required it. And yes, it can look beautiful from the outside. But it can also be exhausting because you end up carrying emotions that were never yours to begin with. You're an exceptional problem solver under pressure. When everything falls apart, many people freeze. But you don't. You get calm. You shift into strategy mode. You prioritize. You adapt. You make moves. It's not because you're cold. It's often because your nervous system has practice. If you grew up in chaos, pressure doesn't feel unfamiliar. It feels like home, so your brain knows what to do. People might say, "How are you so calm right now?" But the truth is, you're not calm because it's easy. You're calm because you've been here before. You analyze people constantly, even when you don't want to. After a conversation, your mind replays it. You think, what did they really mean? Why did their tone change? Was that a compliment or control? You notice inconsistencies. You catch subtle shifts. You read between lines most people don't even realize exist. That's not you being dramatic. That's you being trained in decoding human behavior because in your past, misunderstanding people had consequences. You can detect fake kindness. Some people are sweet on the surface. But something feels off. They say the right words, but their energy doesn't match. They smile, but their eyes don't soften. They praise you, but it feels like a trap. If you grew up around emotional unpredictability, your brain learned to focus on what's consistent, not what's pretty. And that's why you're harder to fool. Not because you're negative. but because you know what manipulation looks like when it's wearing perfume. Quick checkpoint. How many of these signs fit you so far at 0 to 5? Comment the number. And pick one letter that describes you the most. A. Reading the room. B. Hyperempathy. C. Calm under pressure. D. Constant analyzing. E. Detecting fake kindness. Drop AB/C/D/E in the comments. And keep watching, because the most important part isn't the signs. It's what happens when this intelligence turns into a cage. You're extremely independent, sometimes to an unhealthy degree. You don't ask for help easily. You handle things alone. You figure it out. You carry it quietly. From the outside, it looks like strength. And yes, it is. But often, it's not a personality trait. It's a survival lesson. Relying on others wasn't safe, or wasn't available. So you became self-sufficient. Not because you wanted to. Because you needed to. And the cost is that you can feel deeply lonely because you're used to being the person who holds everything together. You feel everything more intensely. Music hits you harder. Injustice burns brighter. Kindness can make you tear up. You don't just notice life. You absorb it. That sensitivity can be a gift. But it can also drain you because the world is loud, heavy, and often careless. If your nervous system is tuned high, you're always taking in more than most people. You struggle to trust people, but when you do, you trust deeply. You don't open quickly. You watch. You test consistency. You look for patterns. Some people misread this as coldness. But it's not coldness. It's caution. Because trusting the wrong person once can cost you months or years of healing. So your brain developed a filter. You don't trust easily. But when you do, you're loyal, intense, and real. At this point, you might be thinking, so, traumatic intelligence is basically a superpower. In some ways, yes. It can make you perceptive. Emotionally sharp. Great under pressure. Hard to manipulate. Deeply aware. But here's the shadow side. This intelligence can turn into constant surveillance. You stop living and start monitoring. You don't relax, you scan. You don't enjoy, you predict. You don't trust, you analyze. And that is not freedom. That is a nervous system still trying to stay safe. So here's the shift, this is the part that changes everything. Your goal isn't to stop being perceptive. Your goal is to build choice. To be able to say, I can read this room, but I don't need to. I can analyze this person, but I'm choosing peace. I can carry everyone's emotions, but I'm putting them down. Think of your awareness like a blade. A blade is useful. But if you hold it all day, you'll cut yourself. So learn to sheath it. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every lie is worth exposing. Not every mood is yours to manage. You don't have to be the emotional security guard of every room you enter. You're allowed to be a person. You're allowed to rest. And if no one told you this before, let me be the one. Your sensitivity is not your weakness. Uncontrolled sensitivity is. The power is learning boundaries. If you relate to this, comment 1, I have the radar. If you want a part 2 on how to set boundaries so you don't burn out, comment 2. And answer this one question in a longer comment, seriously, I read them. Which of the 8 signs drains you the most? If this helped you feel seen, hit like and subscribe, because the next video will show you how to turn this awareness into an advantage without turning your life into a constant stress test.